Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Generic Happy YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing well and staying safe. I'm Amar, otherwise known as Generic Happy, and in a little bit of a change of plans from the normal Switch 2 videos I was planning for this week in the lead up to the Nintendo Switch 2 Nintendo Direct next week, we've been getting rumors about a Switch 1 focused Nintendo Direct. So I figured today I would record a video on that, just talk about it a little bit, and then later in the week begin again with the Switch 2 videos. Though I am going to consider this a part of the lead up series of sorts to the Nintendo Switch 2 in general and the Direct. But yeah, we've been getting rumors about a Switch 1 Direct from very reliable sources. So I figured today I would just talk about that Direct a little bit. What I expect to see, what I envision this being, since I think it'll probably be the final Switch 1 focused Nintendo Direct. And so I think they're gonna go out with some pretty cool announcements. Just for one last hurrah for the Nintendo Switch. So I hope you all enjoy this video. If you have any thoughts of your own on the topic we're discussing today, please feel free to leave those thoughts down in the comments below. And without further ado, let us get right into it. So yeah, as I mentioned, we are expecting at some point this week. I don't know if it's gonna be like a general or a mini. I'm just gonna go in with the pretense that it's like it's one of those, not really a partner showcase. But the general framing of this video is what I envision a final Nintendo Switch 1 focused Nintendo Direct would be in general. We've been expecting one for a little bit now. After we passed February, I think the hope died down significantly since we are so close then at that point to the Nintendo Switch 2 Nintendo Direct. But if we are getting one this week, I just want to talk about it a little bit. It's something that was on my mind in February, and it's still something that's on my mind in general. I just thought it would be after the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct at this point. But again, there's probably a lot of reasons I might go into this idea about like it being this week and why it makes sense. And so I'll talk about this a little bit, but in general, I would be very excited for a Direct this week. It hasn't happened yet, and today I'm recording this on March 25th, so it would happen within the time frame of a week or less than a week from the Switch 2 Direct. So this would set us up to have like a very, I think, really fun, really amazing week for Nintendo news between when this Direct would happen to the Switch 2 Direct, and then whatever news we get after the Switch 2 Direct and everything. But yeah, I would be very excited. I think that it would be really fun, just to see the final Switch 1 announcements that they have before the Switch 2 releases, or we get the Switch 2 Direct in general. But yeah, do I think that it was something that I expected? No. Again, as I mentioned, after the February Direct, I didn't really expect anything more. I expected maybe an announcement on social media of like a game that would be coming out after Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, but I wasn't really expecting something as big as a Direct per se. So, but again, we'll talk about the reasons in a little bit, but I just want, very excited for it. I'm very happy that they're doing one in some ways, just because, again, it's setting us up to have a really fun week of just Nintendo news, talking about Nintendo news. Multiple prediction videos from me, I guess. Because if it does end up being a general that's announced tomorrow, I'll probably make a bingo card for it too. I probably won't make a video on the bingo card this time, just because I'm planning a bingo card video for the Switch 2 Direct, but alongside a predictions video. And I don't know how much I will talk about predictions here. I'll probably talk about them for a good amount, but I may also record just a normal predictions video tomorrow for the Direct if it is pre-announced. So we'll just see about that. But again, I mentioned that this video is just a pretense, what I would envision a final Nintendo Switch 1 Direct being. And I think with us not really having any news since June of last year on Metroid Prime 4, I think that would probably be the main headline for this Direct. For me, one of the reasons why I think they may be doing this Direct just in general is just because there's the possibility that the Metro Prime 4 Beyond does not show up in the Switch 2 Direct. And I don't want to go that far and talk about that one just yet. That's also kind of why I'm pushing my predictions off for that Direct a little bit, just because with this rumor out there, there's a chance that some of my predictions change up a little bit, just because we might see some games announced here. But um, you know, I could see them wanting to get Metroid Prime 4 news out there before that, before the Switch 2 Direct, because it isn't in the Switch 2 Direct. And if they didn't talk about it here, or they didn't talk about it in that Direct, I think it would bring up a lot of questions about where the progress on that game actually is, since we are expecting to see it and have it released this year. Maybe even before the end of the first half of this year. So I think that's going to be the large headline. I think we could see I think whatever Direct, even if it was after the Switch 2 Direct, I think whatever Direct we would see for a Switch 1 focused final Direct, it would be headlined by Metro Prime 4. We will see a large gameplay preview of it. Maybe they'll talk about some of the mechanics, maybe some of the games you should play before then, with maybe Metroid Prime 2 and Prime 3 releasing on the console during that Direct, like Shadow Drops, like what they did with Pikmin 1 and 2. But I think that would be the main thing that we would see here. If the Direct does happen this week, and I have pretty good confidence that it will, just based on where the rumors are coming from, I think that it'll probably release like in June or July, right around the time that I think the Switch 2 it'll be releasing. But I think we would see it then. I think we're gonna get a release date and whatever the Direct is. If it is a mini, I could see them skipping out on Metroid Prime 4 like major news, and see them talking about it in the sense that maybe Metroid Prime 2, Metroid Prime 3 is revealed as like Shadow Drops, and then they have a little thing that says like stay tuned for news in the future on Metroid Prime 4. Or if the Direct happens before the Switch 2 Direct, stay tuned for news on April 2nd during the Nintendo Switch 2 Nintendo Direct. I think that'd be pretty cool if they did that. And in a general, I think there's always a chance that in a general Direct, in this general idea of a general Direct, they could show that footage and then still say the same thing. Stay tuned for more information on Metroid Prime 2 during the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct on April 2nd. But like I said, I think that's going to be the main headline of this Direct. And I think that's worthy of the main headline. That is probably, besides Pokemon Legends EA, the last big Nintendo Switch game that we have before the Nintendo Switch 2 releases and after Nintendo Switch 2 releases. I imagine most of their big development studios and their big games are probably going to be exclusive to the Nintendo Switch 2. So I think, give Nintendo Switch one more hurrah with, as I mentioned yesterday in my video yesterday, probably the longest announced game that we will ever see from Nintendo, like ever again, in the form of Metroid Prime 4. We had it announced in 2017. It could possibly come out holiday 2025, so that'll be more than 8 years. Give that game one more hurrah, give that Switch one more hurrah. And yeah, but besides that, I think there's obviously a couple other things that they could talk about in a hypothetical Switch 1 Direct. In my viewpoint, whether it was before the Switch 2 Direct or after, I think that Metro Prime 4 would probably be the closer for that Direct. Just because, again, it would be the big last, push for not push for the game, but really like big last thing for the Nintendo Switch. That's their big game besides Legends EA, and I don't think Legends EA would show up in a Direct like this unless it was like later in the year. I think next time we see Legends EA news would be probably around June or July, unless it does appear in the Switch 2 Direct. But I think in general that would be the closer, but that does leave the opener and the middle and like just their smaller first party announcements as options. And that doesn't even talk about the third party announcements. Obviously, at the end of the most recent partner showcase in September, or no, not September, August, we had the reveal of Yakuza, the Yakuza series coming to Nintendo Switch. I could see them announcing another Yakuza game for the Switch. Again, as a big third party get, maybe the big third party get in a final Nintendo Switch 1 Direct. I could see something like a new My Sims, or um, and I'm kind of basing this all out off the partner showcase from August, but I could see like a new My Sims, or like a port of the older My Sims. Like the most recent collection had My Sims Original My Sims and My Sims Kingdom. I could see like an Agents collection or a Spy collection of some sort that had My Sims Agents and My Sims Sky Heroes, or like a multiplayer collection that had My Sims Party or My Sims Racing or something like that. Just also make it over to the Nintendo Switch. With that, with like a direct like that, something like that, I think would get a segment of the audience like really excited, but something that like probably wouldn't be talked about that much after the direct, or for a little bit until we get closer to those launches. um but yeah, it's always harder for me to talk about third party games for these directs, just because it's just a there's so much options out there. Nintendo could ask a developer to go back in their backlog a little bit and remake a game for the Switch, or the Switch 2, but in this context, the Switch. Release, or we could always see something like a um just a general new announcement that it doesn't need the Switch 2's power to fully just take advantage of the Switch 2's power for like what it needs. Like maybe like a game that's not visually intensive enough to need to do that. But it's I I think this was always the issue with the Switch 1 Direct, just to end the Switch 1. The last Direct that we got last June is probably, as I mentioned before in the video yesterday, probably one of my favorite Directs, if not my favorite Directs of all time, or at least during the Switch era. And so I always thought maybe the reason why they're not doing one is just because you closed off on such a high point with the Switch 1. With that direct, we had Mario and Luigi announced, we had Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom announced, a new Mario Party, Dragon Quest, Dragon Quest HD, Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D, and the announcement of Dragon Quest HD, Dragon Quest 1 plus 2 HD 2D. And we had those announcements. We had, I think we had another trailer of Metroid Prime 4. So it was always like, do you want to end on a direct like that? That's such a high point. You're speaking to your audience a lot. Um, with those games, or do you want to have one more hurrah for the Switch? Maybe not as big announcements, but you give it the final push before the Switch 2 releases, or before the Switch 2 has this big blowout, just to show that you're going to continue supporting the console throughout the rest of this year. And I think that's the main thing with a Switch 1 Focus Direct. Um, we would not. I don't think we would get another one after the Switch 2 Direct happened. Thinking about how it probably makes sense for them to do the Direct now, just because it would be. I think if you did it later, especially you did it very soon after the Switch 2 Direct, it would come off as you're. I think you would be drowning the game that they show off in a Direct like this, by showing it off to the Switch 2 and how good those games look, or just where your main development resources are now. Um, Showing like a couple ports, a couple remakes, a couple remasters, maybe some smaller games, new games, would just be drowned out a little bit, and people wouldn't really be talking about them. And this gives them the chance. They do it tomorrow on the 26th. It gives them a week to get, if they want pre-orders in for those games, and not really have to think about them after the fact. But you have your audience's attention for one full week, pretty much. I wouldn't say a full week, maybe like 5 days. I think by Monday of next week or Tuesday next week, all I'll be talking about is the Switch 2 Direct and what I expect to see there. But it's something like this is like the last moment to have their audience's attention on the Nintendo Switch. So my attention on the Nintendo Switch. Even though I whatever game they show off here, I would be playing anyways. Either if that would be on the Nintendo Switch or with the Nintendo Switch 2 since it's backwards compatible. But I think it just makes a lot of sense just to do it now, um, alongside the fact with Metroid Prime earlier. But I talked a lot about that stuff there. I do want to talk about some games I think that could show up in this direct. I feel like with older prediction videos, I think maybe I stopped a little bit like after 2023 with like these type of predictions, just because I feel like we were getting so close to the Switch 2. I don't expect to see like a big game here. I don't think we're gonna see like a new 3D Mario of some sort, or a new Zelda, or not like a new Pikmin or something like that. I don't think we're gonna see like a new Animal Crossing, new Splatoon, something like that. I think we're gonna see a good amount of smaller games, mixed in with their big game Metroid Prime 4, or maybe like an acknowledgement of Pokemon Legends ZA. I mentioned the opener, middle, closer. I think the opener would be something of a massive remake. For a while, there's been rumors of a Fire Emblem 4 remake. I think that makes sense here. The rumor is it is a Nintendo Switch 1 game. So I think that, that opening up the direct, we've seen Fire Emblem open up directs before, twice in 2022 with the Three Hopes reveal in the February direct and the Engage reveal in the September direct. So it would make sense. It would be cool to have Fire Emblem open up a direct like that. So I think Fire Emblem 4 opens it up. I think, as I mentioned earlier, Metroid Prime 2 and 3 probably leading into a Metroid Prime 4 trailer closes the direct. But the middle games are always the funnest, like the most fun to talk about, not the funnest. The most fun to talk about, just because there's just a lot of opportunity there. I'll go into a lot of this more if this direct doesn't end up happening this week. Just like on general predictions, but something like a Rhythm Heaven. We haven't seen a new Rhythm Heaven since 2016 with Rhythm Heaven Fever. I don't know if it was Fever. It was a 3DS one, Mega Mix, Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix, on the 3DS. And so in 2016, but the previous Rhythm Heaven game before that also came out at the end of the Wii's lifespan. So in my opinion, I think it makes sense to have another Rhythm Heaven end the Switch's lifespan, or like life cycle, something like that. But those last two games have been at the end of those generations. I think it would make a lot of sense to have Rhythm Heaven at the end of this generation, if they want to keep that that lineage. Now it's not really even a lineage, but like that, just like that pattern, I guess, of sorts. I think that'd be cool. You can have Rhythm Heaven there. We can have a new Mario sports game. We haven't gotten one since 2022. In the form of Mario Strikers Battle League. We can see a new Mario Baseball get announced, or a new Mario Sports Collection get announced. I think that'd be pretty cool. There's been a lot of the rumors, like an F-Zero GX remaster, or a Star Fox Adventure remaster of sorts, or like a port of sorts. I made a lot of these predictions in my my June predictions video from last year, thinking that maybe Nintendo doesn't have too much left, since we at that point they had already acknowledged the Nintendo Switch 2 as the Nintendo Switch successor at that point, and like maybe they don't have too much left in the tank for the Switch, but they did have a lot, and it's possible they still have a good amount. It's hard to really Nintendo's like development structure is in the form of like different studios and different entertainment planning divisions or development divisions, and so it's a little difficult to think about like where these new games would come from, I guess, because we already know like their 3D Mario focused studio. It's obviously working probably on a 3D Mario or a 3D series of some kind, like a 3D Donkey Kong series maybe for the Switch 2. We know probably the Animal Crossing Splatoon developing division is probably working on one of those games for the Switch 2. We already saw a new Mario Kart for Switch 2. I guess we could see something more casual oriented, party oriented, like we saw in 2020 3 with everybody's 1-2 switch, but I also think that they have a game that they're working on for the Switch 2. So it's just there's a lot of, in my opinion, um like there's not a lot of leeway, I guess, from their current studios to be able to have both the Switch 2 game in development and a Switch 1 development game. Um you can hear my alarm in the background. I have the Splatoon theme on right now. But yeah, so I mean, and maybe that's it. Maybe that's a maybe we do see a Splatoon spin-off of some sort in this direct, but um I think it's gonna be a bunch of smaller games, or like smaller games in relative to what we would probably see next week in the Switch 2 Direct. Um, but that doesn't mean, like, again, that doesn't mean that they're not working on any big games. I just think a lot of their development resources are on the games. So, like as I mentioned, Fire Emblem to open, Rhythm Heaven, Mario Sports, Metroid, 1, 2, I mean Metroid Prime 2 and 3, and then Metroid Prime 4. I think that'd be a good lineup. That is 6 first party games shown off in the span of the direct. I think that's more than some directs even have first party wise, especially for the games that haven't released yet. I guess Metroid Prime 2 with 3 would have already released, but I think that'd be a pretty good lineup in my opinion. Um, if this direct happens, I could see, I could see them not all, like, the whole direct focusing on Prime. I mean, not Prime, on the not Metroid Prime. Like the Switch one in general. I could see maybe some movie news as well popping up in it, but it's just, again, there's so much that I think Nintendo's holding back for the Switch 2. And I think that's why I'm mentioning the Switch 2 so much here, is just because I feel like you can't really discuss the Switch 1 Direct without having the Switch 2 just be on your mind for a little bit, like in the back of your mind. Because you're like, at least for me, it would be like, I know this, I see all these games they're announcing. That means they have other games that they're just working on, and they have those ready for the Switch 2. And I think for me, that's why it's also very exciting. We're gonna get big announcements this week if this direct is real. And then we have big announcements next week, as well as, a whole new console we're gonna see. A bunch of new, pretty much probably a year's, well, I guess the rest of the year, maybe a year's worth of games announced for it. And so, like, it's just interesting to think about, I guess. In this direct, for me, it's kind of interesting to think about what the directs look like after this. When the Switch 2 releases, either like the middle of this year, maybe a little bit after the halfway point of the year. Because it's always like, we saw with the Switch 1 and 3DS, they had like mixed directs until I think the end of 2018. Maybe like the first direct of 2019 also had 1 or 2 3DS announcements. But I think at that point they had slowed down substantially to the point where they weren't really being included in the directs anyways. But it's just interesting to think about, because they don't necessarily need to have combo announcements or like a combination direct anymore, just because these games will be backwards compatible with the Switch 2. At whatever Switch 1 games, they are going to be backwards compatible. And so it's just like, I wonder if we're going to see those dual directs. I wonder if we get another Switch 1 focused direct after this. I'm kind of thinking not, just because I feel like after you get to this point with the Switch 2 direct happening next week, it's always going to be like, why aren't you showing off any Switch 2 games? And that's not for me personally, but I feel like that would be an issue for Nintendo. I mean, they're showing off all of these possibly new games for the Switch, but they're not really talking about any Switch 2 ones at that point. So I feel like at the very least we would see combination directs, but part of me doesn't even know if that would even happen. But I guess obviously we'll probably see one more. Will see one combination direct this year, whether that be like right before the Switch 2 launches or right after the Switch 2 launches. Again, just to solidify some, maybe early next year, mid next year Switch 2 games. But also talk about whatever they really have left in the tank for the Switch. I guess a lot of this discussion does revolve around how much you really think they have left in the Switch, or how many years Nintendo personally plans on supporting the Switch. Because I think that's ultimately the question. Because I think right when they stop making or publishing their own games for the Switch One, I think that is when we probably see the Switch One not show up in directs anymore. Maybe we see like the small little logo in the trailers or on the a splash screen between announcements, but we don't like hear them really talk about the Switch One anymore. And so I think that could happen even honestly next year. But this video was about just what I think a Switch One Direct would look like, and I think I'm trying to communicate that the best I can. Again, once we find out more information, if it even is a general, if it's a mini, I think some of these predictions change, but not all of them. I think the announcements I already talked about also fit into a mini pretty well. And so, the only thing maybe that doesn't show up in a mini is Metroid Prime 4. But, we'll find out more information tomorrow or on Thursday, depending on if we get general or mini. But I think it will be interesting to see what happens in this direct. Again, like I was thinking about it in the context of last year. We did get 4, maybe 5 major announcements. I feel like we got 5 major announcements because at the end of the year finished with MEO, Echoes of Wisdom, Mario Party. So maybe we only got 4 significant like new game announcements, and then with Metroid Prime 4 included in that. I think we could. I mean, honestly, I think that could happen again here with a Fire Emblem remake, Rhythm Heaven, a Mario Sports, and Metroid Prime 4. I think that'd be pretty cool. And then obviously like the small little ports of Metroid Prime 2 and 3, maybe Metroid Prime 2 and 3 remastered, maybe one more remaster report of sorts. So I think this direct will be really fun. I think a final Nintendo Direct Switch Nintendo Direct would always be really fun. I wonder if they acknowledge, this will be the last time we focus on the Nintendo Switch in this type of, in this capacity. Maybe they'll release like trailers for Nintendo Switch One games in the future, but like this will be it. This is the last time we will be focusing on the Nintendo Switch One. I wonder if that's acknowledged. Probably not, just because that like closes off the door from them to do another Nintendo Switch One Direct in the future at some point if they need it. But yeah, I just really just wanted to come on here and talk about this a little bit, just because it's been on my mind since the rumor broke. I believe on Sunday. It got more confirmation yesterday, so Sunday, Monday, I want to talk about a little bit. It as I mentioned earlier, it is why I'm holding off on doing some of my Switch 2 videos. I plan to do, and I still plan to do, a predictions video at some point this week to upload either later this week or early next week before the direct happens. I plan to do a bingo card video for the direct. Again, I don't think I'm going to be doing the bingo card video. I'll probably do a predictions video for the direct if we get one this week, but maybe not bingo card video. But I plan to have a Switch 2 bingo card video, a Switch 2 Nintendo Direct predictions video, though I guess it would have made sense to do it now, but still, I do want to wait until the Switch 2 Direct the Switch 1 Direct happens before I predict what I think the Nintendo's lineup for the rest of the year looks like. And yeah, so it's just, it's really exciting. I think it's a really exciting time to be a Nintendo fan. If Nintendo is really doing something this unexpected, I think it speaks to a lot of like, we just can't really expect, we can't really predict what Nintendo's going to do in the future. I think that's also going to be really fun. But yeah, if we do get a Switch 2 Direct, a Switch 1 Direct this week, and we'll make another video on it, but I will be recording my reaction to it. If it is a mini, I'll record my reaction to it as well. But yeah, Fire Emblem, Rhythm Heaven, Mario Sports, Metroid Prime 2, 3, 4. I think that'd be really cool. I think that'd be a really cool direct. I think in my mind that's always what they were gonna have as a final Nintendo Direct for the Switch 1 if that's what they were gonna do. Um, there's there's also the rumor of the Kirby Planet Robobot HD. So there's a lot of games Nintendo could talk about here, and I think I'm going a little bit back on them maybe not doing a combo direct, at least for the rest of for a little bit, just because I think they still have a good amount of games that they could put on the Switch 1, say it's backwards compatible with the Switch 2, and that will be okay. But this video is getting kind of long now, so I don't want to keep rambling on. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Again, if you have any thoughts on the potential Switch 1 Direct that we have or may have this week, please feel free to leave them down in the comments below. But without further ado, I will have more videos come out at some point this week. If we have a reaction to the Switch 1, that will probably take a little bit more priority than some of the other videos I planned. But I plan to again do a with this video, I wasn't really planning this video specifically, but I plan to have at least 2 or 3 more videos for the Switch 2 Direct happens, or at least 2 or 3. I mean, at least 1 or 2. At least a predictions video. But I plan to just try to do as much as I can leading up to the Direct. I'm very excited for that Direct. I'm very excited for everything that's going to happen after that Direct. But yeah, without further ado, I hope you all do makes you happy, because it rhymes generic happy, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.